focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
My name is Daniel Alonzo, and as always, I'm your host, bringing you some of the most incredible people around the world. We're talking money, we're talking business, we're talking life, and we have a really special guest today. His name is Ben Sheppard. He has a degree in finance and economics. He's worked in real estate, owned a resort, and has been in the financial industry for over 17 years. Ben and his wife, Samantha, reached a company milestone this year by coasting over the 7-figure income level. He has built a very successful company where he coaches others to reach their financial goals and dreams by helping middle America reach theirs. So Ben, thank you so much for being with me, man.
Oh, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, owned a resort. Tell me about that, man.
So I've been doing the financial services thing for quite some time, and I kind of get bored with things. I'm very entrepreneurial. I like when things become very easy for me. I kind of look for other challenges, kind of thing. I just like to turn something around. So I really wasn't. I've been doing the real estate for 7 years, doing a lot of flips, lots of rental properties, and that kind of became kind of an autopilot. And I'm kind of looking around, and a friend calls me, and really wasn't looking to get into the hospitality space, but found a situation where it was, undervalued, and had, saw some issues with the current leadership. So of course, with that becomes some opportunity. Second generation, a lot of things that could be fixed. So kind of did some research, and yeah, that's been a couple years and a lot more headaches than some other businesses. You have, 250 some employees and some babysitting and all that stuff. But changing the culture, putting the right leadership in place, putting the right systems in place, and between the other partners, just figuring out what part of it we're going to kind of focus on. So for me, it's just basically coaching the salespeople to go out and get business instead of waiting for it to come to them, and then fixing the marketing. So there was very little social media presence and marketing going on at the resort. So we're working on fixing that. So yeah, a lot of moving parts, man. There's a hotel and a golf course and a wedding venue and a salon and a landscaping company and a 60,000 square foot athletic center with a lot of indoor sports. So yeah, a lot of moving parts, but it's fun, man, to turn things around and take the challenge head on and grow sales, grow revenue, make it more profitable, all those good things.
Well, that's awesome, man. Very exciting. We're going to get into the money side and the business side, but I want to kind of take everybody a little bit back into your past a little bit and talk about, where did you grow up? What did your parents do for a living?
Yeah, good question. So I did not grow up in an entrepreneurial household at all. My dad was a director for Procter & Gamble. He worked his way up the corporate ladder for basically 30 years. My grandfather was a lead engineer for DuPont for 35 years. All I knew was go to school, get a degree, get a good job, and got 2 college degrees. And I've always been kind of a market nerd. I used to trade stocks in college for extra beer money, and I've always kind of been fascinated by my money working hard for me and not having to work for my money. And so I studied finance and economics, but out of college, part of it was, of course, that corporate upbringing, but part of it, I was just sick of being a broke college student. So I got the first good job that I could find. It was selling advertising, and I made about $100 grand a year, but I was making them about 15 million a year. It was always, what have you done for me lately? Pit in my stomach Sunday night, micromanaged all the time. And at that point, man, I was just so sick of this lie of corporate America. And I just didn't sit well with me. There was zero chance I was going to be in that situation long term. So I started researching, and thankfully someone had talked to my brother about our financial services company. And then, got involved part-time, and then kind of made the transition to full-time and started to open up some offices. And that's been, of course, a lot of fun and very rewarding to help people. And truthfully, I hung out several years, making between 500 to 600 grand a year, just getting really good at working with clients and referrals, probably working about 25 hours a week. And then about 3, 4, 5 years ago, started, of course, thinking more about the distribution side and recruiting, training other people to get started. I wish I would have done that from day one, but it is what it is. So we're kind of spinning both of those plates right now, and still helping clients and referrals, but also putting more systems in place to open up additional offices.
And so, obviously we are quarantined right now. I don't know how it is out in, it's Pennsylvania, right? You're in Pennsylvania?
Yes, we are.
How's the quarantine out there? What's going on?
Yeah, and it's hard for me not to get irritated by a lot of the politics, but I'll try to stay away from that today.
It's all right. We talk about everything, man. So
for the sake of your audience, but we're hoping at this point to open up May 8th. So the financial services side, of course, I can do everything on the phone or Zoom, so it's really not an issue. The resort side, I've had to close the resort, so that's a tough thing when you have expenses but you have zero revenue. So I'm definitely more of a free market kind of guy. So I think people should be smart and have wisdom so they don't get sick. And of course, especially the people that don't have a good immune system and they're older. But I believe the rest of it, I think shutting down the economy long term, I don't care what anybody says, is way more devastating than a virus, because you study countries that have a lot of poverty and the impact that has on people. So I hope we're smart enough to open up as soon as possible in a safe way so we can get this economy moving again. I know a lot of people that don't have jobs, that don't have income, through no fault of their own. So it's a crazy world. I feel like every day is Groundhog Day. We're waking up and it's almost like in the Twilight Zone where we're told what to do, and we're supposed to wear a mask and all that stuff. And I don't know, man, I'm a pretty conservative free market guy, so a lot of the stuff rubs me the wrong way, but I'm trying to be a good citizen, I guess, at this point.
Well, I feel very much the same, Ben. I mean, I think it's madness, in my opinion. I think that this has gone way, way too far. I think people are way too scared. I think people are sheep. I think people are just, literally, like, use your common sense. If you want to wear a mask, God bless you. Go wear a mask. Nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, we probably should have been wearing masks, years ago. I mean, people could get the flu and die every single day. So I think that this is, it's getting a little bit out of hand. There's way too many people that need to be working. And look, psychologically, there's depression going on right now. There is alcoholism that is being created right now. I mean, there are drug dependencies that are being created right now. So what do you say about that?
100%. My pastor said a couple weeks ago when we were still able to attend services, the spirit of fear is way worse than the virus itself. And to me, there's no question. And you're 100% right. There are way too many sheep that just turn on the news and listen to all this fake stuff coming from, wherever they're getting their information on. But a lot of it's just fake, it's bogus. And I think the scary thing is if this, something like this, and then they can tell us what to do, what's next, man? I have a 9 and 12-year-old, and I don't know, I just think people, you hit the nail on the head. People need to learn to think for themselves. and do their own research and not just listen to whatever they see on TV or see on social media. And I'm thankful for all of our frontline people, the hospital workers, the medical workers, all those people. But at the same time, we also have to consider how I think, unfortunately, you have too many people that only look at how this affects them and their family and not everybody. You know, I think sometimes we're selfish. And I think the other thing that happens is too many people do not take personal responsibility for their life. They rely too much on the government. They rely too much on a company instead of having control and having their own business. So yeah, I mean, I think the coronavirus can expose the issues people already have. And then instead of looking in the mirror and taking personal responsibility for their life, they blame the virus as if it's the virus's fault. So, you know, those
where'd you get your mindset, man? I mean, like you're obviously a free thinker, and you're a little bit, probably, if I were to guess, when you were younger, maybe a little bit of a rebel. Were you a good kid, bad kid?
No,
what kind of kid were you?
No, I grew up in a very strong Christian family, very conservative family. But yeah, I had a really, thank God, I had just great parents, and they instilled a strong work ethic in me, right? I'm 39, and I think you and I'd probably agree that a lot of these millennials are very entitled. They don't want to work, a lot of them. They want something for nothing. But I just grew up in a household where if you wanted something, you go to work. And although I wasn't around entrepreneurs, my dad taught me to work hard, right? So that was a play that I ran, and I've run to this day, and I'm very thankful that they instilled those values and work ethic. But you know, in terms of I mean, I read a lot, man. I read a lot, and I like to talk to other successful people like you. I like to stay humble and hungry. I think that's the other challenge. The reason people don't grow is they don't stay humble and they don't stay hungry. And so you know, I'm okay with, you know, being the most humble person in the room, you know, and I think sometimes the difference between where we're at and our God-given potential sometimes is like really, really far away. But some of that is just our lack of humility and learning from other people, other successful people, reading a lot, you know, just exposing yourself to bigger thinkers, I think is part of it. Growth, being uncomfortable, I think is very, very important. I mean, I don't know if you're a sports fan, not being able to watch sports right now is driving me nuts, but the Last Dance special, of course, I'm aging myself, I'm 39, but watching that Sunday night, man, I grew up watching Jordan, and I was blown away, but I never got a chance to listen to him speak. He's a private guy. And I was just blown away by just his work ethic, man. Just like when he was at North Carolina as a freshman, working his tail off. And it's just a rare thing that somebody that talented also works their tail off. And just the competitiveness, I mean, it was just very, very cool to see. And of course, that's why he won. And, you know, so many people aren't willing to grind, right? They want the prize, but they don't want to pay the price. So you got to grind for a couple years to get where you want to go. But for whatever reason, people don't want to do that. So I don't know. I thought that special was cool because it reminded me how good and how dominant he really was. But a lot of that is just he worked his tail off. I mean, he got cut as a sophomore in high school. I mean, we're talking the greatest of all time. But man, still put his head down and went to work. And the other thing that blew me away when he was a first year in the NBA, and I guess all the other veterans were partying in the room together, you know, drugs, alcohol, women, whatever. And he just decided to stay away from all that and just focus on what, you know, being the greatest of all time. And just amazing to me. So,
And that's the difference, right? I mean, that's the difference between the ones that make it and the ones that don't,
Yep.
are the ones, you know, I mean, come on, it's real simple. Massive work ethic, total focus on what it is that you want. And, you know, if you put the blinders on and you don't look left and you don't look right, you're going to get to where you want to go eventually. Challenge I see though, Ben, is a lot of people really don't know what they want.
right.
So was there a moment for you, like where you kind of decided, like, I'm going to be successful, this is what I want, and I'm going to put what I need, you know, to into that endeavor. I'm going to put everything I have into that. I mean, when was that time for you?
I think from a business standpoint, being in business for myself, and I talk to my team all about this all the time, but the biggest thing is we all tend to be lazy, I think, by nature. So this idea of a block calendar. So I just scheduled everything into my block calendar. So I'm an introvert. I don't really like people. I certainly don't like marketing and prospecting, but I just put in my calendar and I did it anyway. Because I realized, you know what, if I build a client base, I build a business, and I just take great care of people, great customer service, that I would never have to do any of this prospecting and marketing again. So if you talk to a lot of successful people, one of the common ingredients would be that they're willing to do things that other people don't want to do. Whether they feel like doing it or not is irrelevant, because their goal is important. And for me, I didn't trust myself to always be self-motivated, to always have self-discipline, to always be on my A game. So I just stuck to my block calendar. Whatever it said on there, I just ran the play, and I did that for a couple years. And for whatever reason, a lot of people aren't willing to do that, right? They'll rent their life away to somebody that doesn't give a crap about them for 40 years to save a little bit of money in their 401k, but yet they won't build something for their family. It's hard for me to relate to that. But for me, to ensure my success, I just make sure I scheduled my success, if that makes sense. I put in my
Oh
calendar,
man, that's
make sure I did the work.
completely makes sense. Hey Ben, who was one of your first mentors that really got you moving forward?
I'm not, I've kind of always been kind of like I don't know, man, free thinker and kind of someone that I don't know that I had a lot of key people initially, but yeah, I wanted to get around successful people, and in our business there's a couple people like Bruce Kalk, and then I was later networked to somebody in Coker's organization. So I had some influences in our business around, but I was just always looking for people, to maybe connect with. But I think it was just that internal desire to be successful, to take care of my family, and I'm real big in the idea of stewardship. So especially with finances too. I mean, the first quarter of this year, I mean, to be able to buy assets very, very cheap and on sale, and hate it when everybody else is panicking. I love doing that. I'm also a real big fan right now of cryptocurrencies and precious metals, because you have the government basically continue to print, and you hear a Federal Reserve banker a couple of weeks ago say, hey, we can print as much money as we want to, and you've got $24 trillion in debt, and then you just did a $2 trillion stimulus, and they're talking about more, and I don't know, you can't print your way to prosperity. So there's just so many opportunities. We saw negative oil recently. I can't think to see that Saudi Arabia and Russia, when most of their revenue comes from the oil industry, that we won't see higher oil prices. So again, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So from an investment standpoint, there's just so many things right now that are on sale that are cheap that I'm looking at. So, some of it's stewardship. You know, yes, you get financial independence.
Explain that, Ben. Explain that to the people that are listening when they hear stewardship. What
Yeah.
does that mean,
So
really?
I think to win in every area of your life. I mean, there's stewardship in your physical fitness, your finances, your spiritual life. But for me, I think just managing what you have in the best way, right? So for me, my faith's very important. There's 2,000 scriptures in the Bible that talk about managing money. It's very important. So I think this idea of growing your wealth is very, very, very important. Just like we were talking about earlier, in terms of the work ethic and the block calendar, it's amazing to me how many people don't invest in themselves, right? You know, we're paid in direct proportion to the value that we bring to the marketplace. So if people get better and really become obsessed with self-improvement, what will happen is they'll bring more value to the marketplace and their income can go up. So I think investing time in your personal financial education, I think that's something that I'm always reading, what trade can I make next? What can I buy next? How can I grow my net worth? What do I need to do with my portfolio today? So, all those things are fun. And I think you have to be proactive with it. And I think you have to be intentional with your life to be able to really get better in those areas, right? I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father to my kids. I hate cardio. I like to lift weights, but I hate cardio. So I know I got to force myself to do that because I hate it. Not because I want to do it, but because I know I need to do it, right? Eating better. So I just think all of this stuff is important. And I think so many people react to things in life instead of being intentional about becoming the best person that you can be, the best version of yourself. I think we should be better today than we were last week and better this year than we were last year. And that's what it's about, right?
Did you have, was there ever a time that you struggled at all? I mean, was there a moment that you just threw up your hands and said, this is too hard? Did you ever go through a struggling time in business ever?
Yeah, I mean, there was times, just starting out, where, I think we all go through some self-doubts. Can I do this? Am I going to do well at this? Am I going to be successful? And like anything, I think, of course, when you get started in business, everybody and their brother wants to make fun of you and criticize you, right? You probably went through that. I know I've got people that made fun of me when I started that have made my burrito at Chipotle. I've got people now, Daniel, that I employ in other businesses that made fun of me when I started, right? I mean, I can go on and on and on, but one of the things I think that's so for me, that was one thing that if you say, well, Ben, if you attribute two reasons why you're successful, one would be that block counter that I talked about, and number two is I just don't give a rip what anybody thinks about me. And when I say nobody, my wife, I care, my kids, I care, my God, I care, everybody else, care less. Don't care. So I think that's very, very important. If you're going to be successful, that you have to just not care, because it's amazing to me how many times people allow broke, mediocre, unsuccessful people rent space in their head, especially in today's world, right? I'm not on social media. If my wife wasn't, I'd be forced to for business, but I'm thankful that I'm not. But it's amazing that people will spend 3 months of 12, right, on their phone, living on their phone, to the point now where it's just like, okay, it's, I need to be liked. I need to have more likes. I need to have more followers, and we can't even have real conversations with anybody anymore. People live on their phone. It's amazing to me, actually. But I don't know. We're in this world there. It's like all about, do people like me? Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care. I really don't care. So it's a pretty liberal.
Now, if somebody's listening right now, because I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I think that we are in a different age. There's no question about it. And we're living in a different world. This is a different time. And there's no question about it. Social media will take over business. It is going to be the next generation of where business and marketing and all that stuff goes. But I want you to know that, I get what you're saying, because there's so many people that are so worried. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said that I just want to give as much value as I possibly can based on my authenticity.
Sure.
Based on what I believe is the right thing, based on my research, based on the things that I know to be fact. And from there, I'm going to give my thoughts and I'm going to give my opinion. But after I give my thoughts and my opinion, I cannot worry 1 second about what anybody thinks about what I believe.
Sure.
Because I believe what I believe. And
Sure.
if I worry about what everybody thinks about me, it is going to be a long, hard road up to the top. Agreed?
Yep, 100%. Yeah. I think what I'm alluding to more too is, you go to a restaurant and the 4 family members are sitting there on their phones, right? Not even talking to each other. So, right. I agree. Social media is the present, is the future. But, for me, it's just, I think a lot of people, why don't they win in business? It's the fear, right? Their fear of the unknown, fear of the uncertainty, fear of what other people think about them. They've got this false sense of security that I need a job. But right, we went from 3% unemployment to basically 15% overnight in a couple of weeks, with the government basically sending us into recession, forcing people to shut down. That's crazy. So
unprecedented, man.
It's just crazy.
Never before.
Crazy. So,
so what do you think? So if you were to think about the future, and obviously this is just your thoughts here, but what's going to happen in your thoughts? Where are we going with this? Where is this going to lead? And also, how is this really going to affect our money long range?
Oh, great question. So the money part, I bought Bitcoin when it was a couple $100, and I'm a big crypto guy because if you think about it, people used to make fun of the internet. They used to make fun of email. So of course, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is not mainstream yet, but I do believe it's coming. And I do believe that people are sick and tired of governments printing more money and of course, fiat money, right? So February 19th, when the Dow was at 29.5, and we basically go to 18,000 on the Dow on March 23rd, right? Never seen anything like that, right? We're down basically 40% in 4 weeks. Part of that was this rush to cash, rush to liquidity. So when you think about a couple of thoughts I have there, and I could talk about these topics all day long because I study it, but the idea of a brick and mortar bank, I think, Daniel, down the road, you're not going to see that, right? So you have, example, Binance is a crypto exchange. They do more in quarterly profit than Deutsche Bank in Europe. And we know how big Deutsche Bank is, all their employees, their quarterly profit is higher than Deutsche Bank. And they've got like 13 employees versus 100,000 or whatever Deutsche Bank has, right? Crazy. And people are sick and tired of fiat money. So the point is this. People don't understand. If you go to the bank and I go to the bank today, I say, I want 50,000 cash. They're going to say, hey, Mr. Sheppard, we need to come back next Tuesday. Why? They don't have the money, right? Banks are broke. And not to mention they commingle your stuff with everybody else, right? So they're going to pay me a measly 1% on my CD that doesn't keep up with inflation. They're going to loan it out to your neighbor's mortgage at 4 or 5% and keep the change. But they literally are broke, and a lot of the actual physical dollars aren't even in this country. So I think what people, and I'm not doom and gloom, I'm always glass half full. I make money in stocks, but I think eventually you have to think about, if we're just going to keep money printing, you have to really think about diversifying out of the dollar, whether that's precious metals, whether that's cryptocurrencies, whether that's tangible things like real estate. I think you have to think long and hard about that for sure. From a business standpoint, I think technology that we just talked about with social media, I think eventually it's going to be replacing a ton of jobs, right? I mean, I think about all these truck drivers, right? Out west where you are, you're in California, right? I know the Vegas area, you have what, driverless trucks? So do we think eventually that all these truck drivers are going to lose a job because we have technology? So I think technology will make businesses more efficient. And in the process, a lot of your jobs are going to be eliminated. So I think part of, if you're going to win in business, part of it is, you know, what does the future look like, right? Did we really realize how many years ago that Amazon would take so many brick and mortar retailers out of business, right? Did we realize that Facebook and all these, Twitter and all this other stuff would just blow up, right? So what's the next thing? And I think part of winning in business is really being able to forecast what's the next trend, right? And I think a lot of successful entrepreneurs now, what's amazing is they'll study what's hot and what the trends are, and instead of reinventing the wheel, they'll just copy it and do it better, right? What's the hottest thing right now? I'm going to copy it. I'm going to do it better than you, right? I think you're seeing a lot of young entrepreneurs that's really what they're doing. It's like, what? I'm not going to sit here and reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to copy what's exploding, but I'm going to do it better than them. And you have a lot of tech people. So I'm not a tech person, but you have a tech person invent something, but they don't have the business skills. So you take what they invented, which is genius, but then you light a match to it with some business sense, right? So for me, like down the road, what I picture for me personally is I just want to provide the cash to very, very talented people that maybe lack some of the business sense, or they lack some of the finances to get it moving, right? Like I don't want to physically be involved, right? So if the concept of your podcast is financial independence, right? How can we build assets and build businesses without physically being involved? I'm all about that. So I think,
well, that is the topic of our whole entire podcast, is building massive passive residual income. Because I mean, to me, there is no other better way of making money than passive income, so residual income.
I think so. Part of it is understanding the trends and then maybe finding the right people to invest in, and maybe helping them with some of the business side is what I see more of that in my future. Is if I have to physically be involved, I'm not interested. So unless it's something I'm really into and I'm passionate about and I want to, but I don't know, man, like, and for me, my oldest is 12, and I don't really have many years left that she still likes me. So,
yeah. Well, my daughter's 14, and she's about almost to the end, man. It's about right there, So, getting a hug out of her is a little harder than it was when she was, 10, right? So, what's it like working with your spouse? Because I know you guys have helped each other in business for a long time. I mean, what's that like for you?
Yeah, it's good. It works really well with her and I because, as I said, I'm a big introvert. She's the opposite. So we really play on our strengths. She does a lot of stuff that I don't like. I mentioned the social media stuff, and the stuff I don't like to do, she does it, and I do all the stuff that she doesn't want to do. So yeah, man, it works really, really well.
Any advice to people working together? I mean, any tips at all?
Biggest advice I would give, right? So the first thing is I never put any pressure on her to do anything in business. Anything that she did, I was thankful, but I always took personal responsibility. In the business that you and I are in, I think so many times people will blame their spouse or put pressure on their spouse. So number one, if you're the lead person in the partnership, go make a lot of money and go bust your butt and have the mindset they're going to do it with or without them. And then, so don't put pressure. And I think the second thing is really play to your strengths, right? Lay out everything in terms of what needs to get done, whether it's in the house and business, whatever. And then, focus on those things. And what'll happen is over time, that stuff can change. So when we first started, we had to do a lot of stuff. And then recently, of course, over the years, it's just anything that I don't want to do, I'll just pay someone to do, right? So, in the beginning, it was, okay, Samantha was doing some of my paperwork and stuff. And then, of course, hired someone to do it. That was very good for a marriage. And then, even recently, it's just anything I don't want to do, I'll just pay someone to do. And then if she can do things that she is passionate about and she enjoys, and the same thing for me, then it feels like that you're never working. So I think that's the key is focus on what you enjoy, that you're passionate about, and pay someone else to do everything else that has to get done.
Great advice, man.
It doesn't feel like it's work then.
Well, I mean, and it really just comes down to, and I love how you talked about the fact that you got to take personal responsibility, because, I mean, I see so many partnerships out there where the husband's getting mad at the wife because she's not out there producing enough or out there getting, working hard or whatever. Or again, there's a lot of fights because there's just not enough money coming in. And I just feel like, you really have to take responsibility. And it's interesting because when we started in business, we were real young. I mean, we were 21 years old, and we had a lot of battles, a lot of fights, a lot of disruption in our, relationship. And eventually I said, look, I'm going to do it with or without you. So,
Sure.
I want you to come with me. I
Yeah.
want you to support me. I want you to help me. I want you to lift me up. I want you to, be a part of this, because we're going to have a great life. I said, but you got to kind of want it too, And, but whether, I never asked her to sell, never asked her to recruit, never asked her to build anything. She helped out with paperwork, things like that. But I got busy, right? I was gone from, 9 o'clock in the morning till midnight almost
Sure.
every single day for 5 years.
Yeah.
Woke up, we were financially independent. And then at that point, everybody gets kind of do what they want to do. And I think that's a way better solution, don't you?
100%. Yeah. And we had the same so when I first started, it was the same situation. It was kind of always asked me questions about what's going on, what wasn't very, very successful in the very beginning. And I had this same exact come to Jesus talk with her. Like, I'm doing this, either you're going to, I'm bored or you're not, but really don't care. And then, but you hit the nail on the head. You put your head down for 5 years. And my guess is you don't regret doing that, right?
Zero.
And people, it's just crazy to me. What is 5 years in compared to the rest of your life? Right? And honestly, there are people that work just as probably hard as what you did at their job, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Harder, because at least I could get up when I wanted to get up. I could go to bed when I wanted.
Yeah.
And for those 5 years, I didn't work every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, there was days where I said, you know what, I feel like, going to the park and feel like going to Disneyland or feel like, whatever. And we were able to do whatever we wanted to do because we were in charge of our life, right?
Yeah, it's good.
So good stuff, man. I could do this with you all day long, man. There's so much stuff. I just don't want to keep you all day. I'm going to kind of, wind this thing down. What's your favorite book?
Oh, so of course the Bible. The pastor at my last church, for those of you that, very good book if your faith's important to you. But he wrote this book called "Call for Courage," and basically, a lot of it's about kind of this reverse intolerance where, you know, we're supposed to be tolerant of everybody else, unless you're a Christian or conservative, then we really don't care what you have to say. And unfortunately, I think in today's world, what's annoying is we can't even disagree agreeably anymore, right? It's like this fight, like back and forth. I know everybody has different views and different beliefs, but it's just kind of it's like a how-to manual, how to speak the truth in love and stand up and speak out, and really what has become a sit down and shut up world. So the author is Michael Anthony. I'd highly recommend that book. But there's been so many books over the years, man. You know, I remember reading Success is Not an Accident early on in my career. It really helped with the goal setting and the block calendar and all of that stuff. But yeah, I'm always looking at stuff. And then, you know, the stuff that I've been reading recently is a lot of it's on the areas that I'm weak in. I'm reading a book right now on video messages, because sending someone a video message in today's world makes a ton of sense, right? You get that personal connection. And rather than call all of my clients or all of my contacts and say the same thing for 20, 30 minutes, I could send a video and everybody listens to the video, right? So a lot of what I'm reading now is the stuff that I'm not good at, that I need to get good at. But yeah, I mean, the book I'm reading right now, I forget the name of it, but it's basically about video message marketing, right?
I love that. I love that. Hey, look, I mean, I'm not even kidding. The other day, and you can even send out personal messages all the time. Yeah. Instead of leaving a voice message. Yeah. It's such a different feeling when yeah. somebody leaves you and you leave their name. So I sent about 30 messages on Sunday afternoon, and I took a little bike ride, and I stood right by the freeway. And I just said, hey, this is Daniel, this is your wake up call. What's going on? And I used each and every one of their names, though. Yep. I did it as an individual message. I said, hey, you know, what's going on? I mean, another little thing that I'm doing that maybe kind of relates to what you were talking about is the fact that, you know, with this Corona deal and the quarantine, we're not doing traditional meetings on like a Tuesday night anymore. I mean, this is not we are quarantined in our homes. Yep. And so me and you, we're kind of used to in the past, you know, you get together, everybody in an office, and you do training in the office and all this stuff. Well, now I've pre-recorded an actual opportunity night meeting.
Yeah, like on demand.
So,
right.
On demand. Yeah. So they have the link. Every one of my teammates has a link. So they're prospecting somebody and they go, hey, you know, this is something that I'm might be interested.
Yeah. And I agree 100%, because in today's world where people live on their phone, I also find that nobody wants to have anything in their calendar. Right. So having the recruiting video done to just send to people, then you can recruit 24/7. And like, it's exhausting to think that we're running the same play every single week over and over again. I also think this idea of everybody doing their own trainings every week is stupid, because the reality is your people get toned after you, mine get toned after me. So why wouldn't, you know, everybody just do, you know, say, okay, so-and-so, Daniel's doing training this week, right? Plug my team into that. So maybe I have to plan training once a month. Like this idea of everybody runs their own play every single week and puts all this time into it, I just think, I don't know, it's wasteful. I think the client webinars has to be live, because I think it's got to be relevant and pertinent to what's going on then. But the recruiting thing, right? I think it should be a 24/7. Just tape it once and be done.
It's like 20 minutes. It's like 20 minutes long. It's on YouTube. Right. People have the link. Bam. You know, it's real straightforward and simple. Yep. It's incredible. Yep. So, man, good stuff. What's your favorite movie?
I like comedies, man. I want to laugh. So in terms of TV, I don't watch a lot of TV. I do like sports. So I'm hoping we're not stupid enough to cancel the football season coming up. So I'm looking forward to having sports again. But movies, yeah, man, I'll watch whatever, and I put up with a lot of my wife's chick flicks. But I like to laugh, man.
I love it. I
So,
love it, man.
yeah.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream for sure. I like pies better than cake.
Okay, pie is even better. Okay, all right. And what about favorite food? Do you have like a favorite food you enjoy?
I actually prefer to drink my calories.
Oh, really?
I seafood.
What's your favorite beer?
I love craft beers. So I have a bar in my basement that I redid over the summer. I love it. So I've got 3 nice IPAs on draft. The quarantine's not too bad. So I've got the home theater, and I've got my own bar, and I've got my own gym. So, and I've been social distancing since I was born because I don't like people. So
I love it.
This isn't too bad.
You're the first guest that I've ever had out of 80 guests so far that says, I really don't like people. So, hey, I really do appreciate you and just so you know, I like you. Okay. I actually like you, Ben. I think you're a super, super human being. And I've learned so much, man. This has been a great conversation. I've learned so much. I've gained so much. The people that are in the audience, they're learning stuff as well. You're a super guy. You got an awesome, incredible mindset. I'm very, very impressed. And hey, look, because obviously you recruit and tell us where you're at exactly in Pennsylvania. If anybody's listening out there or they know somebody, Ben is super smart when it comes to investments. I mean, he's smart about everything, but investments, this guy has got it down. If somebody needs help in one of those areas that reach out. How do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm in York, PA. So basically I'm an hour and a half west of Philly, about 4 hours east of Pittsburgh. I'm about an hour north of Baltimore, about 25 minutes south of Harrisburg, so conveniently located. But yeah, I mean, getting a hold of me, my email is probably the best. It's just my name, Benjamin, Benjamin, P for Paul, and then Sheppard @gmail.com would probably be a good way if people want to connect.
All right. Hey, everybody, make sure that you share this podcast with everybody you know. And again, Ben, I really do appreciate your time. And I wish you guys all the best. If there's anything I can do, if you want to ever plug into one of our trainings or something like that, you're welcome. I'd love to maybe, do the same with you and maybe help each other in the future. Okay.
Sounds good, man.
Appreciate it, everybody.
Stay healthy.
Dream bigger than ever, but make sure that you do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.